Yeah.
Meshach, do you think this comes from the interest that when you look at the key industries in the country today, for instance, manufacturing, real estate, maybe they've been classified as male-dominated industries, but how exactly can the ladies or women in this case also tap into these key industries?
Yes, thanks. Like we had said earlier, of course, there is the historical side of it that has translated to that. But we have efforts that are being made currently to make sure that that is addressed. And one of the things that I know many organizations are doing, including the Institute of Directors Kenya, is to ensure that more women are equipped in those areas.
Right.
The Institute of Directors Kenya is making deliberate efforts to ensure that more women are taken through what we are calling continuous professional development. They join more professional associations, for example, the Association of Engineers, and that is going to, of course, translate in making sure that there are more women who are serving in the boards of those kinds of companies. Yep.
All right. And also, you know, earlier Celestine mentioned that women represent about 52% overall population.
Yes.
And we're looking at this being just about half of, you know, the world's population in general as well. Because if you're going to look at the male to female ratio, it would still come to about that. But what government-based initiatives can be able to drive this besides the fact that it's embedded in the Constitution, Celestine?
I think it also includes introducing enhanced maternity leave policies, you know, enhanced paternity leave policies. It also includes, and on those two, the reason why I quote them, it allows females the opportunity to nurture their child, but knowing that there's a career that's still available. So you're not leaving because you don't have that benefit. The other one is around enforced policy around monitoring. So the example you gave around South Africa, you know, each company has to make a return where they report on the number of females that have been employed at all levels, not just board, all the way to the bottom. And listed companies have to report on that. And that just forces the issue of having, you know, women on the board. There should also be penalties that should be applied. And I think in Kenya, the one thing we have to appreciate and recognize is also as part of our constitution and the new laws that have been enacted is under youth and gender, we also have now access to government tenders. So all that is about empowering the women population, not only in the professional area, but also in the business area.
Do you believe that women, to one extent, get too comfortable at certain levels in their careers, that they probably do not want to advance? And maybe there is also information on how one needs to go about being on a certain board or sitting on a certain board.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. So at EY, one of the things we found out, we interviewed about 400 leaders, and we tried to understand what is the barrier to women, what's preventing them from moving forward. And one of the themes that came up was they actually are not aware of what the opportunities are. It's not visible to them.
Right.
So one of the themes we are driving is how do you illuminate the path of leadership for women so that they can see what are the opportunities available, what are the things they need to introduce or have access to, such as mentorship, networking events that they can see, but also they themselves to have the confidence to go for those. I do think some of them sit back because they don't see it. Some of them sit back because they don't have a mentor telling them, you know, there is an opportunity and who actually creates that opportunity for them. So there's a lot that needs to be done by us as women, going out and seeking those opportunities. But I do think there's still a lot that needs to be done around the supportive environment, both corporate, government, and the community.
And also that includes how long one must stay at a certain level.
Exactly.
After how long do you actually say, you know what, this is it?
Yeah.
I'm done, there's no more challenge here, I need to move on.
And that's an interesting point you bring. Earlier today, you know, when we had the breakfast, I think one of the key points that came up was anyone in their career. One of our speakers talked about a jungle gym. We talk of you know, a highway where you have the opportunity as a woman in your career to veer off the highway, take on a different activity, go and nurture your children, look after parents, and then come back onto the highway, having the confidence that the highway is still there for you. So I think part of what discourages women is probably fearing the risk of when I will come out of the career pathway, I have nowhere to go. So those are opportunities that we must point out to women that they're available. Those kind of environments can only be created by us corporates, where we give our women the confidence to know that they can look at different things. You can take a 5-year break, go and do something else, come back. We must create that.
All right. And before we can actually even wind up, there's the issue of appointments being made in an informal process. And that is also probably why we're looking at this kind of numbers, or these very low numbers. Meshach, what do you have to say about that?
That's very interesting, because one of the things that we've done as Institute of Directors Kenya is we have 876 registered members. Out of the 876 registered members, we have about 450 women members. We have deliberately taken a step to try and address the issue of the informal networks. So we have shared our list of women members with the government. And therefore, then there is no room for one saying that the qualified women are not there. Of course, as an institute, we've gone ahead to make sure that the women are well equipped in terms of training on matters of governance. And over and above that, I'm aware that there are many other forums, professional forums being organized by other professional institutions that also propagates the issues of women and makes sure that when there is need for a woman to serve in a board, they're able to get the kind of qualified women that can be able to serve on those various boards. So increasingly, having institutions like the IOD, bodies like ISPAC, having a very clear pathway in terms of how people are selected and appointed to serve in various boards, then that makes sure that the issue of the informal process is taken care of, so that there's a very organized and formal process. And through that formal process, then the various institutions can be able to know which names then do we front to serve in various boards.
All right. Let's talk about remuneration, the males vis-a-vis the females. And I think this has come up on various platforms in different industries, where even, I think, even in Hollywood as well, there's been cases of, you know, the male actors being paid more than the female actors. And this cuts across all, I guess, industries where we're seeing the females taking up lower pay compared to their male counterparts. But how do we address this issue, Celestine?
So, at the end of the day, there should be wage parity. And the wage parity comes from what you contribute in your role, because of the job you hold, because of the position you hold. And gender should not feature at all in that decision in terms of what to pay a female applicant or a male applicant. And that's something that should be agitated for and be pushed out through progressive corporate policies as well as legislation. I think it's as simple. We cannot afford to have such a situation, because you have people who come out of college, same degree, you know, same qualification. Why should they be different? Having said that, as you say, the reality is that there is parity. And, you know, certainly as we've seen in the public press, government on its side, it's trying to do something around driving wage parity. And we should be seeing the same in the private sector side.
All right. Meshach, you want to add on to that?
That for me is like Celestine say, is outrightly wrong. At the board level, at least I'm sure that there are no incidences where people discriminate that you're a woman or you're a man, and therefore whatever you earn should be less. But perhaps just to add, from the African front, because we had also looked at Africa as a whole and the issue of women representation in boards in Africa. The Institute of Directors Kenya is a member of what is called the Africa Corporate Governance Network. And the network has identified the issue of women representation on boards in Africa as a key issue. And what we are doing in the various countries all across Africa is to make sure that we are able to agitate for more women to be represented on boards. And that, of course, also impacts on the performance of the various companies all across Africa.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, when it comes to being on boards, some people don't even understand what the process is like, you know, what are the qualifications, and maybe we just want to touch on that as well to ensure that at least people out there know exactly what to do, or even how maybe they've gotten to a stage where they're supposed to be sitting on boards and they just don't even know how to go about it. Probably we can have some information as well on that, Meshach.
Yes. I'll talk about the Institute of Directors because that's the organization that I represent. Number one, the key qualification for you to become a member of the IOD is you need to have a basic qualification degree. There may be those who don't have a basic degree, but maybe they have excelled in business. That still is a consideration that we look at. And we encourage even those who may not have those degrees, or they've gone through school, they've excelled in business, they can become members of the IOD. The next step from there is that as an institute, we are going to take it upon ourselves to make sure that we equip you with the necessary knowledge and information that you need. And so we have continuous professional development training for our members, and we have developed specific programs that are geared at women, equipping women, and through that, then they stand a good chance. There is every opportunity for them to be able to serve in boards, because we've reached out to the regulators, we've reached out to corporates, and telling them that we have this list of qualified women who can be able to serve in the boards. Yes.
All right. Celeste?
I think just to add on to that, it's important for one as they apply to understand what is expected of them as a board member, and what the objective of a board is. Ultimately, the board is there to provide strategic oversight over the company in terms of its strategic direction, in terms of its governance, in terms of risk, in terms of investments, in terms of how it deploys its resources in a responsible way. So that then determines the kind of person you should have there. So you're looking at people who have a strong business acumen. They need to be people who have a strong understanding of that particular sector. So if you're in Impala Platinum, you need to have a good grasp of the platinum industry. You need to have a good understanding of accounting, could be legal requirements, but all those do not reside in one person, you know, because if you have a board of at least 9, it is expected that it sits there. So those are the kind of skills we look for. Are you business savvy? Do you understand some of the technical aspects of the business? And just finally, and really perhaps one of the most important, that if well addressed and people comply with, could avoid all these corporate governance failures we see, is the ability to ask the hard questions and expect an answer, ability to ask for information and expect to see that information. So that's why you're there. You're not there, you know, to
sit
to earn a salary and yeah, you're there to ensure that we achieve shareholder returns.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to talk to us about women on boards, women representation in key sectors as well as industries that we have today in Kenya and around the African continent. We've been speaking to Celeste Munda, who is the Advisory Services Leader for East and Central Africa at Ernst & Young, or EY, and also Meshach Joram, who is the Chief Executive for the Institute of Directors here in Kenya. Thank you both for coming to speak to us on Business Today.